So Donald Trump just got sworn in and gave his speech during inauguration, and I thought it was dry and very uninspiring, maybe the most uninspiring speech I've ever seen. But there's an ironic reason to that, and it's partly to give Trump a backhanded compliment here, but it is to some degree a compliment. Here's what I mean. When it's not that he's the first guy to read from a teleprompter while giving a speech. Almost all the politicians do that. So I don't mind that. It's that Trump is normally more interesting. So not to say that he's smarter or that he's effective, or well, he was effective enough to become president, but when he gives a press conference or he's talking or he's doing a speech to his crowd and he does the silly things and, oh, we're not winning anymore, but we need to be winning, and he does his corny jokes, people actually laugh at those jokes in his crowd. I don't, but they do. And he's kind of an entertainer. When you sap that away from him and you make him read from a teleprompter of a speech that someone else obviously wrote, it makes him seem even duller by comparison. So if, Mike Pence reads the speech, you're like, well, that's a standard boring Republican politician, and that's what I've always seen him do. Right. No big deal, right? When Trump reads it, you're like, man, where's the puppet master? Because that ain't Trump. I know Trump, and that ain't it, right? Yeah. So when he gives a flowery speech about how God is going to lift us up, and he believes in America, and there's no room for prejudice in anyone's heart, and you're like, yeah, okay, when are you going to give your speech, right? Because that's obviously not yours, right? And then we think, and Michael made this point during the live coverage of the speech, that Steve Bannon wrote it. We think that for a couple of reasons. I totally agree with Michael on this. One, it talked about the rusted out America and the graveyards of our jobs. And so that's the kind of populist rhetoric on jobs that Steve Bannon emphasizes. And then it talked about how America was in such terrible shape and now we're going to rescue it. I mean, if you follow politics very closely and you know Steve Bannon at all, those are the themes that he emphasized as strategist for the campaign and now the chief strategist at the White House. Ugh. Okay. And then some criticized on Twitter and even here that it sounded like a campaign speech and that he's still campaigning. That I actually don't mind, and I wish Obama had done more of. That he stopped campaigning and he became a dry politician, Obama did, when he was legislating, and never made his case. And you need to make your case, and I think Trump will probably do that right as a matter of politics, that he will continue to pound his messages home. Like, so today, the Young Turks hired an investigative reporter because we reached $1 million in donations from you guys. Thank you. We really appreciate it. Trump will probably take credit for that. He'll say, see, on my inauguration, the Young Turks hired a reporter. That was me. That was me.
Job creator.
Now, that's a lie, and of course
no, but we were talking about it, Anna, before you got here. The job was created while Obama was president.
Yep.
So the Young Turks, viewers and listeners, they were the ones who made sure that job was created before him by getting it to 1 million.
But even though it's a lie, but when you continue to campaign, then you get more things done. So I didn't mind that part, and he should have done more of that. I mean, I know he can't do an extemporaneous speech for inauguration. Right. It's too important. It's too serious. And all of his advisors know he's too much of a goofball to pull it off. But he overall still probably would have been better served if he had. Because certainly his detractors didn't like that speech. People in the middle were super bored. And even his own supporters who can't wait to go to the deplorable were like, snooze fest. When are you going to tell them that they're losing?
I agree with you. That speech was very uninspiring. Even if I were a supporter, which I clearly am not, I would watch that and I would be bored because it sucked all of the characteristics that people tend to like about him, right? And the idea that he doesn't play by the rules, that he goes rogue, that he's rebellious, all of that was wiped away from that speech. So it was uninspiring, uninteresting, and it was full of lies. And so for people who actually care about someone who's telling the truth, there was emphasis on this notion of being a patriot. And open your heart to patriotism was a line in that speech. Well, it's interesting to hear him say that when he dodged the draft to Vietnam, when he criticizes POWs and veterans, when he scams American students and has to pay a $25 million settlement as a result of that, when he doesn't pay his taxes and give back to the country that he has basically taken advantage of. So what is patriotism to him? I'm very curious.
We are the watchers on the wall. We are the sword in the darkness. Come join us. TYTnetwork.com/join.